Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Beyond Ordinary podcast, where we connect with great people doing great things to inspire you to do the same. I have a very special guest here with me today. My man is making seven figures, married, has a baby on the way, and would you believe it if I told you he's only 20 years old? Bro's already lived a full life. My good man, Grayson. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing great, bro. Thanks for having me. I'm 21, by the way. Just so
Oh,
people
you
don't
just
think
turned
I'm,
21? Okay.
yeah, just so people don't think I'm, younger than I actually am, and they're like, coming after me. But yeah,
Most definitely. Congrats. When did you turn 21? That's recently or?
no, October. So I'll turn 22 in like 5 months. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So, wait. Oh, yeah. You're definitely a lot older than I thought.
yeah.
Okay, man. Yeah. So we're just gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about his business journey, marriage, and then obviously the new things that he's been changing up about his business. So let's just dive right
Going
in.
on, we interrupt this program to bring you the sponsor of this video, which is my multimedia company, SFG Media. So what we do is we increase the brand of content creators and business owners and bring them monthly recurring revenue with short form content. So how do we do that? We have a team of editors that come into your business, they edit all your shorts and they'll distribute them on all platforms. So that's Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And the reason why we do that is because it gives you the most viral potential, the most growth. And if one platform such as TikTok gets banned for whatever reason, then you're on multiple platforms and you're not really boxed in, right? And guess what? The best part is it's all done for you. You don't have to lift a single finger. So then from there, as we're, posting consistent content, building your audience, getting the views, the audience is compounding on itself. That's the top of the funnel. Then we push all those views to the bottom of the funnel, which is your product. So whether that's a coaching call, whether that's a paid community, whether that's an email opt-in, whatever. So that's the bottom of the funnel. And that's how, we bring you your monthly recurring revenue or your email opt-in, whatever the bottom of the funnel looks like for you. And Chris Sane is actually one of my clients and he's been with me for an entire year. So if you want to check out Chris's channel, his Instagram, his YouTube, and see all those shorts, my team did all that. So if you're interested in getting some work done, shoot me an email at m.youngblood@sfgmedia.org. I'll also leave it on the screen for those of you watching this on YouTube. Now, back to the show.
So, Grayson, you are a very, young entrepreneur, 21 years old, has seen a lot of business success really early on. Can you kind of just walk us through your journey, probably like starting with high school? Like when you graduated high school, did you go to a university? Did you start a business in high school? Like just kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Yeah, so I was gonna be a doctor, because that was what everybody told you. Doctors, lawyers, they make the most money. Lawyer seems
Mm-hmm.
really boring. Doctor's gonna be it. So I was going to be a doctor up until about my junior or senior year of high school. And then my senior year of high school, I'm dating Lila, who's now my wife. And
Mm-hmm.
her dad was always just like kind of able to do whatever the heck he wanted. Like he would be skiing half the year, and he never like had to work. He'd kind of work whenever he wanted, and I was like, man, what the heck like does he do? Like I knew he had always like owned grocery stores and businesses, but I never like thought about it, until I was like, man, I want to like have that a level of freedom. When you're in high school, like all you really want is like freedom. That's why you can't wait to get to college,
Yeah.
right? You want like more freedom. So I was looking at him like, man, I gotta figure out how can I get that freedom that he has. So I start looking into business. I start thinking about like what are my strong suits, and I got really into like real estate. So I was listening to all the
Okay.
real estate podcasts, Bigger Pockets. I was working demo, for like some construction companies, listening to Bigger
Okay.
Pockets in my AirPods the whole time. Listen to like every episode, which is funny because Brandon Turner, the host of the podcast, actually became one of my clients in my
Oh,
agency
wow. That's a
later
big
on.
sign.
But
Okay.
um, so then I got my real estate license. I studied for it while I was in high school, and then the day I graduated high school, I went and took the test and got my license. And I was on track to start my real estate career in the state of Washington, where I live now. But I also played basketball in high school. So,
Okay.
and I was
What
pretty
position?
good, but not like, not like D1 or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to, go big, play D1. My goal was like to go to the NBA when I was in high school. And
Of
so I
course.
decided to like go to a small like D3 school, so I could get playing time, get my feet wet, and then hopefully go D1 later. Like that was kind of like my goal. And so I go to the school. It's University of Puget Sound in Washington, and I go to a 5 a.m. practice, and I get back from that practice, and I was like, bro, ain't no way I'm doing this for 4 years. so
Really?
so
It was
I
that bad?
Dude, it was terrible, bro. It was more that in my head I was already moved on to like I want to make money and I want to like
Uh-huh.
progress my life forward. And I was kind of thinking about, well, what happens if I just play here for 4 years? Like I play and then what? I don't get anything out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna leave and start a career anyway, so I might as well just start my career now. So
Damn.
then I go to the dean's office. I ask for a full refund, get a cashier's check. My parents actually paid for my college. I was very blessed and privileged to have them, pay for my college. And so I then call my dad up with the cashier's check in hand. Hey, yo, Dad, you want to grab lunch? He's like, sure, but I don't know what's going on. And so I go get lunch with him. I tell him I just dropped out, and then I'm going to pursue real estate, full time. And he was like, no, 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 no. You need to go back to college. So he was like, I don't care where you go, but you need to go finish school. And so in my head, then I was like, well, shoot, what am I going to do now? Because I really respect my parents, and I was at that point kind of just doing whatever they told me to do. So then I was like trying to find where can I go to school and, kind of like pursue business at the same time. So maybe like not as academically rigorous of a school. And so then I transferred the day school started to Grand Canyon University over in Arizona. And I was kind of like, you know what? First year, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna go do the party scene. I'm gonna go have fun. I'm gonna see. I did 2 weeks of that. Hell no, not for me. So I did 2 weeks of the party scene, and I was like, bro, this is so stupid. I never went to another party
What?
ever again after.
What was
after
so
that
bad
2
about
weeks.
it?
Dude, I mean, what ends up happening is like you stand around and like everybody at a party has one of two goals. One, they're either trying to get so drunk because they're so sad about their normal life, which isn't me, or two, they're trying to get laid. And
Yeah.
I've already got a girlfriend, so those are not either of those two options are not really for me. So if you're at a party and you're not doing one of those two things, if it's like a college party, right? Like partying with your friends and stuff could be fine, but not for me. So now I'm like, well, 2 weeks into school, let me just go like work in real estate again, right? Let me build up my real estate career over here in Arizona. So then I start cold emailing real estate investment firms because at this point, over the summer, I'd kind of developed to the point where maybe I don't want to be an agent. I'd rather be more of like an investor. Maybe start with some wholesaling or whatever it might be. So then I start reaching out and cold emailing investment firms, and I got one answer for the 100 cold emails I sent to all these investment firms. went in to do an interview, and he was like, "Sweet dude, can you work like full time, like 40 hours a week?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I can work 40 hours a week." Didn't tell him I was in college. I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm work 40 hours a week. You know me." And so then I start a full time job 2 weeks into college, which just killed my social life. But I started learning a lot. Anyway, so I'll kind of long story short this. Became marketing director there after a couple months. They offered me a full-time 6-figure salary at the age of 19. I decided to turn it down. And that same day I turned it down, I bought a course from Imlan Gadzi on how to start a marketing agency. 16 days later, I was making $10,000 a month with an agency. And 8 months later, I was making $50K a month with an agency. Got married, started a coaching business. Now we do, around $100,000 a month inside of the coaching business. So.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm not gonna lie, that's a very explosive growth going from essentially 0 to 10K in 16 days. And I'm sure like that's like 10K per month. like for those of you that don't know what an agency is, actually, you know what, I'm gonna let you explain it, what like an agency is for the viewers that are unfamiliar with what that business model.
What an agency is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, an agency in my mind is basically just like if you have any sort of skill, you're basically just providing a service to a company, to a business, right? So you take the one skill you have, whether it's like how to run paid ads, how to build websites, how to do email, how to build funnels, whatever that one skill is. And instead of like working for one company as like their marketing director, you basically just like start building a team to help you with fulfillment, and you have like 10 bosses, 10 clients instead of one. So it's basically just like most agencies are kind of just like outsourced marketing or sales. And that's basically what an agency is. You work with multiple clients, or I call them multiple bosses, because most agencies kind of operate in a way that like, it's like instead of you getting a job, you basically just went and got like 10 jobs, and then you hired a team to help you do those jobs for the companies. That's kind of an agency in my mind. There's obviously better ways to run one, but that's kind of what mine felt like.
Nah, most definitely. So kind of going back, I know like almost anybody who starts an agency, their goal is 10K per month, and you were able to do that in 16 days. Like, how did you see just such like tremendous growth in 16 days? What was that journey like?
Yeah, bro. I honestly think I got a little bit lucky. I mean, there's obviously like whenever there's luck, it's a mixture of like luck, but also like you work to get to the point to where you were able to get lucky, right? So it was a mixture of like I had worked really hard. I had like done all this stuff in real estate. I had put in all my time that full year being a marketing director at a company. Plus, I happened to identify the trend of the time of short form content before it was popular. So right before short form content became a thing, and like everybody was doing it, and Hormozy like just popularized the crap out of it. I kind of like identified that, and I was like, oh, like this is definitely going to be a thing. Let me provide this as a service for other people. And so I just started making short form content myself. And then I would get clients. Every client that I got would typically bring me another client. So I had a good referral system.
That's
and so basically I started building my personal brand through content. And I basically used the same acquisition system I teach now to scale my agency back then, my content agency. And that's pretty much it. Like within how I got to 10K in the first 16 days is I basically I posted a whole bunch of content. I was posting like 7 or 8 short videos per day, right? So I was going crazy.
Oh, wow.
So like most people do outreach, I was doing like mass video production. And so like if you scroll all the way back on my TikTok, you can go find those videos. So then I would just reach out to every single person. So I would DM every person. And this is when TikTok DMs were like brand new, right? I would DM every single person that liked a post, commented on a post, DM me. I would be scrolling through TikTok, and anybody's videos that I didn't think looked good, I would reach out to them and say, hey, I can make your videos look way better. And between doing all that stuff, not really being that organized, I kind of would just like identify the opportunity so early that I could make mistakes, right? Because there was nobody else doing it. I had no competition.
Dope, brother. Yeah, just identified that trend and you kind of rode the wave. So what made you, I mean, obviously, you said you made 10,000 a month, 50,000 a month. What made you pivot away from doing that when you saw so much success?
Yeah, dude, this is a good story that I haven't really told much. So I was still in college when I was running my agency. And it was my second year of college. I basically went home after that first year of college, and that summer is when I started that agency, started scaling it up. I go back to college for my second year. I only had to do 2 years of college because I did 2 years of college in high school, so I could kind of knock it out early. And so I'm going back for my senior year of college, which is just my second year. And at this point, I'm like scaling the agency up. And so I scale it up pretty much all year. I just work on the agency, and that's how I get it within 8 months to $50,000, $60,000 a month. And one day, I'm helping edit one of our clients' content. Client name is Dan, and he was paying us like $5,000 a month to edit his content and stuff. And I'm looking through his content, and I'm like I don't typically go through and like approve videos and like send them out to clients, but this is like a client that was paying us a lot of money. I figured I should probably like look at the content and make sure it looks good before we push it out and send it back to our client, Dan.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through it and I'm listening to it. And it's a YouTube video we had edited for him. And I was like, man, this guy's smart. He's talking about how he ran an agency before and how he then started a coaching business. And now he has like this lifestyle freedom and he has this business that he just absolutely loves and how he just loves coaching so much. And so his team is like maybe 1 or 2 people. It has super high margins. And that was everything I didn't have, right? I had a team of 12 editors that were part-time. I had 2 account managers helping me service my clients. I had margins that were like 20%, 30%. So everything that he had, I didn't have. And I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. And so I start talking to him. And I'm like, hey, dude, like how much would it cost to learn from you? And he was like, dude, I only really help like coaches. I don't really help agency owners scale. And so I was like, if I want the lifestyle, what if I just started like a coaching business? And so literally I think about it on, it's like probably like a week left before I graduate from college. I'm thinking about doing it. The next day I wake up, I walk down to the coffee shop at my college and I'm kind of sitting there. I'm sitting in a chair just like this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm shutting it down. I get my phone out. I call all 25 of my clients. Hey, we're actually shutting down. We're no longer servicing clients. Peace out. Cancel all their $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month subscriptions. Canceled. And that day I shut down my agency. And I went all in on coaching. And so that was kind of like this. That was kind of like the story for me. Is that for me, dude, I just had such a large team that it was so many people to manage. Clients that kind of just viewed me as like their outsourced employee, right? Where it's like, hey, Grayson, do this, do this, do this. I didn't really have a good relationship with them. And I honestly felt like in my agency, I was kind of just like providing a service to people who are already making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month, rather than like actually changing people's lives, which is kind of what I wanted to do, right? So like there was a part of it that I didn't really enjoy the model. I didn't enjoy my business, but there was also the piece that like I know I can make a real life impact on other people's lives, and I don't think this is the business model that's gonna like allow me to do that. So those were kind of like the 2 things, but it was super scary, bro. Like I bet. I had just signed the mortgage on our house. Our wedding was already planned for like 2 or 3 months after that moment where I fired everybody, and it was like, I mean, dude, it was scary at the time, right? I had 0 coaching clients. Like I'd never been paid for coaching. I kind of just had to have faith that like this was going to be the thing for me. I didn't even know if I would enjoy coaching yet, right? And I just shut down my $500,000 a year business at the age of 20 years old. You know what I mean? So it was scary at the time, bro. But obviously it worked out and everything's good now. But.
Yeah, it worked out. You took the chance, or you took the risk, and it paid off big time. And I think something that also helped you at that time was the fact that you had Dan, and I'm assuming you're talking about Dan Coe, right?
Dan Bolton, actually.
Oh, Bolton. Okay, Dan Bolton.
Yeah, Dan Coe's also been like an amazing friend and mentor too. I met up with him when I lived in Arizona because he lives in Tempe. He's also an amazing guy. Really, really just down to earth human being. Very humble, but I never like learned from him ultimately. More Dan Bolton.
Okay, Dan Bolton. So, you went to Dan and asked for coaching, right? And I think finding the right coach is so important to kind of, especially like when you're either just starting off or you're just trying to scale, like finding somebody that you mesh with and actually, has done what they said that they've done. So with all like the fake gurus out there and stuff, how would you advise somebody to pick the right coach for them in their particular situation?
Yeah, bro, this is a great question because I just actually filmed a YouTube video on this last night. So I actually have a framework I can give you. Here's my advice for how to choose mentors. There, used to be a world where like you kind of had to just like find somebody who did what you want to do, whether it's like start an agency, start day trading, start drop shipping, like whatever you wanted to learn, get in shape, you kind of just had to find like one of the few people out there teaching that thing and just do whatever they said, right? That's kind of how it used to be. Now we live in a world where like there are a million internet creators, and you can really find somebody that you personally resonate with, and learn from them. And so my advice to how to find a mentor is don't just look for somebody that has the result. Don't just look for somebody that has the body you want, the money you want to make, the relationship you want. Don't just look for those things. Look for, not only do they have the result that I want, but do they also have the lifestyle that I personally want to live, right? And so that's kind of how I identify mentors. Is I want to find people who have the result I'm looking for. Let's call it like 10K a month, but they've also achieved 10K a month in a way that I could see myself achieving 10K a month, right? So the how you get to the result matters a lot more than just getting the result. If I told you, hey, I can get you to 10K a month in the next, 90 days, but in order to do it, you're going to work 80 hours a week, no time with family. You're going to start living a hedonistic lifestyle. You're going to move to Miami and you're going to buy fast cars and you're going to start like cheating on your wife. Like if I told you all that stuff, you'd be like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. But like that's what some people aspire to. Like that's maybe someone else's lifestyle that they're aspiring to live. And for me personally, the things that lifestyle that I aspired to when I was looking for a mentor was somebody that like was a family man, somebody that was maybe already married, and running a coaching business I wanted to run, somebody that had the lifestyle that I want to live. And for me, the person I most resonated with at the time was a guy named Dan Bolton. Now I learn from like all sorts of different people. But that's kind of my piece of advice is find someone that has the life you want to live, and the result you want to have. And then first, do everything they tell you to do to a T. A lot of people make the mistake of having like their 20 YouTube gurus they watch all at once. And you're like trying to pull pieces of information from 20 different people, and it just doesn't work, right? Like you can't, like all their piece of advice would probably work individually, like if you just listen to that one person, but trying to pull them all together, it's impossible, right? Because you don't know what works. You've never run a 10,000 a month business before. You've never been in that kind of shape, right? So my advice is number one, find somebody you like and just do everything they tell you to do to an absolute T. That way you have certainty it's actually going to work and get you the result. Now, once you've gotten the result, now you can start maybe diversifying your tribe of mentors, right? 3, 4, 5 people that you can pull pieces of things you like, leave the pieces you don't like, right? So that's kind of what I do now is like I'll pick 3, 4, 5 people. For fitness, bro, I still got to get jacked. So I'm still listening to one person on fitness, but in business, I'm kind of like pulling from 3 different people, that I resonate with, and kind of just pulling the pieces I like and leaving the pieces I don't like.
Definitely, for sure. And, I know, you briefly touched on managing trust. We're going to get to like the relationship stuff in a sec. So yeah, we talked a lot about, making sure that people have the lifestyle that they want to live. How did you identify, especially at a young age, like what lifestyle they want to live? Because I'll tell you right now, at age 21, I was in college. I was just doing whatever. How does somebody, especially at a young age, identify kind of what lifestyle that they want to have?
Yeah, I think this maybe is also a piece where I kind of got lucky. I think I've definitely done all the stupid stuff that most college students do, that most like young people who make a lot of money do. I've definitely done all this stupid stuff. So I'm not saying that I just like, figured it out without making the mistakes. I just like learned from other people's lessons and I was good to go. I just think that I maybe learned the lessons a little bit, quick. Like I went through the, like the Miami lifestyle. I went through that phase very quickly. I went through like the partying phase very quickly. Maybe it just has to do like I get bored with stuff. Maybe I don't know. I think I just like kind of like I like to like start things and kind of like see, is this what I like? Is it maybe not what I want? And a lot of the times, like I've tried the Miami lifestyle, I've tried the college party scene, I tried like just, monk mode, no friends, nothing in college, and I didn't really enjoy that. I've tried running like a massive team agency, and I didn't enjoy that. I tried running a small team coaching business, and I kind of liked that. So then I tried a large team coaching business, and I didn't like that. So I just like to try a lot of things and see what I like and see what I don't like. And I'm just very quick to move on if I know it's not going to be something that I'll enjoy. And so I think it's just like maybe the speed at which that I try these things. A lot of people are like, okay, let me try this thing. I'll give it, 2 years or 3 years, whatever it might be. I give it like 1 week, right? Where I'm like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to test this for a week. I'm going to take a ton of action. I'm going to consolidate what most people do in a year down to 1 week. It's like if you did all the partying that you did in college and you consolidated it down to a 2-week time span, you'd probably hate partying. So that's kind of where I was 100%. At, right? And so that's kind of maybe how I progressed through those a little bit quicker, maybe.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if you, 4 years of partying in 2 weeks, I mean, I feel like if you do anything and you condense it down in that short time frame, you're probably not going to like it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Sometimes you got to like stretch it out, because I promote out here in the city in DC, and there were definitely, I'll never forget, we thought that our bottleneck for promoting was that we couldn't find a consistent place to like throw parties at. And so we had someone approach us and was like, hey, we're going to do something every Thursday at this venue, Like, it was really low work on our end, but we just had to be there every Thursday. And when I tell you, we learned very quickly that going out every single week, like, it was just unsustainable. Like, we would like damn near just not start recovering from that Thursday come like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. And then we'd look up and be like, oh shit, we got to do it all over again in a couple of days. And so we kind of quickly realized that that was not it. And that was only once a week that we were doing that.
Bro. So yeah, exactly.
Let's talk relationships, man. So you got married at like age of what? You were like 20 when you got married, 19? Something crazy young?
Yeah, we got engaged at 19 and then we got married at 20.
Yeah, so like how, like kind of like walk us through like what made you want to get married so young and how you were even able to navigate that at a young age that's something that you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a lot of people around me that had really healthy marriages to look at, right? So my parents, my wife's parents, our family friends, like we had a lot of healthy marriages around us to know that like we'd be okay. I know a lot of people whose parents go through maybe divorces or know people that have, they kind of have a distrust with marriage, which is totally understandable. But I never really had that because I had so many healthy marriages around me. So that was definitely one piece. The other piece is that my wife and I have dated since freshman year of high school. So we were high school sweethearts. We dated for 6 years before we got 5 years before we got married. So I feel like we know each other pretty well. And obviously we both I'm a completely different human being than I was when we first started dating, but we both grown together, right? So like we both, she's seen the different stages I've gone through. I've seen the different stages that she's gone through. We've taken months apart while going to college and come back together and still, loved each other. And so, I kind of knew she was the one. And there's like a logistical piece to it and also just like a commitment piece. The logistical piece is like, we're graduating college in a couple years. And we could either get out of college, I could get my own place, she could get her own place. We both try and find jobs or whatever separate from each other. Because we're both, Christians and we didn't really want to live together before we got married. Or we could just like get married now, because if we're going to get married eventually, like if I know I'm going to marry you, why wouldn't I just do it now so I don't have to we don't have to live separately for this period of time. So I proposed that's the summer after my first year of college. And then we got married the summer after my second year of college, as soon as we both graduated. And it's been amazing, dude. Marriage has been probably the best decision I've ever made. Like it's been like a lot of people are like asking me like, dude, is that bad for business? Like, are you so like distracted now? You have a family, and it's like, no, dude, I have always done better in business since I've been married. So,
Really?
um, oh, 100%, bro. Like you can't just be chill on the couch all day. Like your wife walks in the door, she's like, "What the hell are you doing? Just sitting here? Go get to work," you know. So,
Yeah.
marriage, at least for me, has been absolutely amazing. Um, but also just because I have a great wife too. So
Sounds like you found your Layla, the one very early who stuck with you through it all. That's a
yeah,
very inspirational, man. And then you mentioned something about you didn't want to live together before you guys got married. So I'm assuming you're anti shacking up. Like, where does that come from? Is that just like your religious belief? Is that because you just that's just not something you want to do?
yeah. I mean, I grew up Christian. My wife grew up Christian. My wife's faith has her whole life been pretty strong. My faith hasn't always been that strong until recently, until like the last year or so is when I really started digging into it. But I knew for sure that like, just like societally as well, like we weren't gonna like, you know, between my parents, her parents, we weren't gonna live together just because of that. Even if Lila and I weren't Christian, because we both respect our parents and they wouldn't want that for us. But also there was a piece of like, you know, we didn't like she also is very strong in her faith. She didn't want to live together. I personally probably at the time wouldn't have cared as much because my faith wasn't really that strong. I didn't feel like called by God to not live with her. But in the last year or so, I'm definitely like very appreciative now that my faith has grown a little bit. I'm very appreciative that we didn't live together before we got married. We're actually reading a book right now by Timothy Keller, and he's kind of like a Christian philosopher. I don't know what you would call him, but writer. And it's called The Meaning of Marriage, and like he kind of breaks down statistics for people that live together before marriage. And I'm not like discouraging people from doing it, but the statistics were pretty like mind blowing. Like the divorce rates for people that lived together before they got married were significantly higher than people that didn't live together before they got married. Now that also probably has something to do with like the fact that usually it's people that are Christians or have healthy religious beliefs or whatever before they those tend to be the people that don't live together. But I still think there's something to it. Like I think it should be reserved in my head for when you make a lifelong commitment to somebody. Otherwise you're kind of just like living together. So it's just not something Lila and I wanted to do. But yeah.
So kind of go into the statistics. I mean, obviously it's not just like, oh, because they live together that automatically means that they're going to get a divorce. Like what was some of like the things that were happening to people or couples that were living together before marriage that kind of led
Yeah,
to
I don't
that?
know the exact ones off the top of my head. We literally like read it like last night. All I know is that like the people that live together before they get married are more likely to get divorced later in life versus those that don't live together before marriage. And I just remember reading it and being like, wow, these stats are crazy. I don't want to like make up stats because I don't know the exact stats, but
Right.
that's kind of like I don't know. In my head, I'm just glad that my wife's faith has always been pretty strong, because mine definitely hasn't been. It like literally in the last year or so, like I feel like I got baptized the day before we got married, which was
Oh, wow.
awesome.
Congrats.
And so really in the last like year is when my faith has grown a lot, where I feel like I've actually developed a personal relationship with God versus before was kind of just like talking to who knows who in the back of my head. And so really in the last year, I feel like I've developed like a personal relationship with God. And it's still like in its infancy, right? I've only taken baby steps. But you got to start somewhere. So
Definitely have to start somewhere, man. Well, what else was I going to say about marriage? Oh, yeah. So, you got married very young, right? And I know, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with some of the red pill stuff out there telling guys to, you know, not settle down, you know, live a life and then, you know, get married. So kind of like what stance, I mean, obviously I have a feeling of what your answer is going to be, but do you advise young men who are like on the climb, you know, have their business, you know, trying to climb the ranks to settle down once they hit their peak, or to kind of find them a woman to kind of build with them?
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's really hard when you find success at a young age, like before you're 30 or whatever. It can be really hard because you think that, like, first of all, you probably feel a little bit lonely, because you don't really probably have that many people to talk to about it, because, you know, by default, statistically, not very many people are going to be young or successful at a young age, right? So automatically, you probably feel a little bit lonely. And really, all that you can really chase in your head is status, right? Like
Yeah.
the cars, the girls, the penthouse, the clubs, the bottle service. Like in your head, when you first start making money online, that's really all that you think about, right? It's kind of like that primal part of your brain where you just want to like chase like ultimate status amongst your friends, amongst other people. You want other people to see you and notice you because, hey, I just started making my first $20,000 per month and I'm 20 years old, right? And I think for some people, they can stay there the whole life, right? You make a lot of money. You look at somebody like Donald Trump, right? He's pretty much stayed in that like chasing power and status his entire life. And so I think a lot of people can stay there, right, forever. But I do think that you can kind of, you know, move past it. I do think that it probably has to do with like where are your values rooted? Where is your where do you get your confidence from? And for me, I get that where's your foundation? And for me, that's Jesus. But even if it's not, I think that you can still kind of move past and see that like chasing status is very unfulfilling. Like probably one of the most unfulfilling things that you could possibly do, because there's always more and more status. Like there's always going to be more things you can buy, and there's always going to be somebody else that has more than you. And so it's really hard to chase status for a long period of time. At least it was for me. And so I definitely did it for a while. Like I definitely did it for a while. I mean, I took 50 flights while I was in college, bro. Like I was traveling the world. I went to Miami multiple times. I went to Mexico a few times. I just traveled. I started making like the fast car vlogs. Started renting out like BMW i8s and stuff, and like, you know, I almost bought a penthouse in Miami. Like I almost did a lot of stuff. But then I started thinking about, okay, what does this look like 10 years from now, right? What does this look like 20 years from now? Like, what do I actually want, right? Like if I didn't have these external societal pressures to like do these things, what would I personally actually want out of my life? Like what would actually fulfill me? And for me, it had nothing really to do with money at all. It was like, I want to have a really good family. I want to have a really good home. I want to have a life that I love every single day so much that I don't need to get in my fast car to escape from it. And I don't need to, you know, fly to Miami once a week to party and to club so that I can escape my life, my day-to-day life. Like I want to build a life that I love so much every single day, with a family that I love so much, and a relationship with Jesus that I love so much that I don't want to leave, right? And so that's kind of when I was like, okay, if that's what I want for 10 years from now, I should probably start building it today. And so at that point, I kind of just like stopped doing it. Like I still drive my 2008 Chevy Trailblazer. I still I live in a 600 square foot home with me and my wife. Our mortgage is like $1,700 a month. And we still travel and we still do all that stuff, but I'm not saying that I don't have a small part of me that still like wants status and wants power, right? Like for sure, there's still a piece of me that like still wants to like build this massive personal brand and have influence and all this stuff. But I think that chasing it is just so fleeting and so unfulfilling for me that it was like honestly hard to do. And so now I kind of have my mind focused on other areas, you know. So
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, that's definitely, I've definitely had those thoughts recently about like just my life and like what is going to fulfill me. Because I think, I mean, I'm sure that most men that go into entrepreneurship and they start, like, they have that like inkling to just want to chase status. I mean, it's really easy to fall into that trap. I mean, you get online, you see people with the fast cars, the girls and stuff like that, the yachts. I mean, obviously, like that's something that you want to do, just indulge in. But it sounds like, you know, you did that at a young age and realized that, you know, that's just not for you. You'd rather be fulfilled than just chasing status.
yeah, I'm also just like really not into cars either, like at all.
Really?
Like I don't know anything
Oh,
about
wow.
cars, and so that was maybe also like I got lucky that I'm not into cars at all. Although I do have clients that I wouldn't say are like, you know, status chasing, but they just love cars. I honestly like
Hmm.
I don't really enjoy cars very much. Like I don't feel great when I drive a fancy one. I've been in a lot of fancy cars, and I just like don't enjoy them
Hmm.
that much. Um,
Wow. You don't
the
enjoy
one thing for
pushing it to
me,
like 100, 120, like pushing it doesn't do it for you?
nah, dude. I mean, I drive my 2008 Chevy Trailblazer where the battery dies every other time I turn her on, and like I love that.
That's actually funny.
Um, I yeah, I also think that like for me the one thing, and this is just for me personally, uh, like materially in terms of like things that cost money, the one thing that I personally really would like to spend a lot of money on, that's a material item, is a home that I can fit all six of the kids that my wife and I want to have in, and I can have a ton of guests. I can host, you know, young life events. I can, um, you know, like just a house where people can come visit and like people can come in and like that's host client dinners. Like that's kind of like the one dream that I have is like just probably that's the one material thing I would spend a lot of money on is like my own home, not for
Yeah.
necessarily for the status piece, but more for like what a home can actually do for you. So
Yeah, exactly. You just want the space to have to be able to host your own events as opposed to like going out and having to rent spaces all the time. It's just, you know, come pull
yeah,
up, like
and
we got
just
the
like a
space.
sense of like you know like you want to have a place that you really love to call home. You know. So.
Definitely. And you just mentioned that, you know, you and your wife want to have 6 kids and, you know, kids are a huge responsibility. Have you thought about how that looks in terms of keeping up with the business with a massive family like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of leads to the massive shift I made in my business in the last few weeks, because um, I actually just watched a video of one of my friends who made a video. Um, he's or not like a close friend or anything. I kind of just know him on the internet, and he posted a video saying he's going to start living for a living, and I think that's a great like motto for at
Framework.
least for this season of my life. Um,
Hmm.
I kind of have, you know, enough money now to live for a few years to where I wouldn't have to work if I didn't want to. And my business has gotten to a point where I could probably produce enough cash flow each month without doing that much additional work to live for even more years. And so I kind of feel like and I think you have to go through this stage in order to kind of have these thoughts. But I think that I'm kind of at a point where I don't think that more and more money is going to be what really drives me. And so my wife and I, like, we just want to have a lot of kids.
Hmm.
I want to have a massive family. Like I love, she has 3 siblings. So she has a family, you know, 4 kids. And I love like the feeling of like a big family, having a lot of kids. Like I just love that idea. Um, and now we've got one on the way, which is you know step one of 6. Um, very exciting. Um, and I just think that like I don't think money is going to be the thing that I'm constantly going to be chasing and trying to get more of. I think life is what I'm trying to get more of. And so there's a lot of
Yeah.
things in life, and money is just one pillar, right? Like money is one pillar that kind of like fuels the rest of your life. Like there's health. What kind of shape are you in? There's how's your relationship? How's your home life? How is your relationship with God? Are you making an impact in your own community? Are you there's just so many other things. Like for me, I love music. I love performing. I love singing. I love playing the piano. I love there's a lot of things I love hooping. I love playing basketball. Like there's just so many things I love outside of business as well that I don't think it has to be like the thing, right? I think your business can fuel the lifestyle that you want to live. And so I'm not really chasing an exorbitant, greedy amount of money. I'm more so chasing, fulfillment and purpose. And yeah, like I don't think money is like maybe the main driver and motivation in my life at this point, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then I think you mentioned that you made some changes in your business, and kind of walk us through how you came about like these realizations about, the changes that you are about to make or have already made.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So like I was telling other people how to learn from mentors, I don't always take my own advice. And so what I did was I started learning from a mentor, Cole Gordon, who is really amazing at what he does. And ultimately, like what I learned from him actually worked. But what started to happen was I basically just started building my business. I started building Cole Gordon's business instead of my own, right? Like I basically started building a massive sales team. That's kind of the track I was on. And I started building like all these client success managers in order to serve my clients. And I kind of started building a business that I didn't feel authentic to me and that I maybe didn't enjoy as much. And so I took a 10-day trip to Europe, went to Amsterdam, Munich, Paris. It was really fun with some friends. Got some time fully off business where I was just able to think, drank some European coffee, and just really think kind of through like high level overview of what I was doing, zoom out a little bit. And after doing that, I got home. I had all these calls. I had our sales meetings. I had our appointment center meetings. I had our client success meetings. I had our content meetings. I had sales calls on top of that because I was trying to train my sales team. And I had coaching calls as well. And I was like, man, I just need a week. So I canceled all the calls for that week. And I just started thinking and brainstorming. So I started walking around my neighborhood for like 2 hours a day, just starting to think out loud about what kind of business would I just love building every single day that still was able to make me the profit that I want to make, and also how much money do I want to make, right? Like what's the number in my head, at least in this season, of the amount of money that I want to make, and then what does it take to get there? And the business that I was trying to build was on its way to be what I think I could have built. I could have built a 9-figure company. Like I'm very confident in my ability and skill that I think I could have gone and built a 9-figure company, which might be a crazy claim, but like I think if you put the work in and someone lays out the steps for you, I think I could have done it. Yeah. But I think the level of sacrifice required to get there, and the kind of business that it would have been, was maybe not number one, the amount of sacrifice that I was willing to make, and number two, like I think what that would have provided for me is a lot of monetary gain, and not a lot of really anything else. And so I was like, if this actually works, my plan, right? I have a 4-person sales team. I have 2 client success managers. I have all these people. If all this stuff actually works out, I'm going to have a very high stress business with a very large team, at least 10 hours a week of just managing my sales team, and then 10 hours a week of managing my other teams. Like this is just a lot. And so I decided in a day to completely change everything I was doing and run a business that I actually enjoyed, right? And so I called all my sales team and I let them go. I fired them. I put them on the other offers. They're going to be okay. But I fired 5 people in one day after a lot of thinking. And I built out a new game plan for the kind of business that I actually will enjoy running every single day. And then my clients get better results. I have a personal relationship with every client. And more of like a lifestyle business that makes, for me personally, it's going to be $1 to $2 million a year in profit. And so I pretty much just decided to do that. And so now that's what I'm building. I'm building a community of 100 people that all want to build a coaching business that does $30,000 to $50,000 a month in profit. And I only want to work with clients that align with the kind of values that I have and that want to build something similar. And I have a personal relationship with all my clients. And that's pretty much what I'm building now. It's a community of 100 people. I'm stacking recurring revenue. I'm providing real value. And that's kind of the model that I pivoted to.
Damn, that's dope, brother. Like, that time away is just so crucial. And that was kind of what I was going through when I was like thinking about pivoting into consulting. And I took a step back, and I think I asked the question of, if this works out. I think Hormozy said this in one of his recent videos. Like, if this works out, like, what does that actually look like? Is this something that you actually want to do? Which is why I kind of wanted to pivot into podcasting, because I enjoy this like a lot. Just talking to people, hearing people's stories, and hearing your story, and just inspiring the people. And my question to you is, it sounds like you're trying to, instead of just scaling like massively and having so many clients, you're trying to put like a cap on it. Like what made you like want to like put a cap, essentially a cap on how much revenue you're making?
Yeah. Good question. So I started calculating. I actually was talking to ChatGPT on my walks and kind of just giving it all my thoughts so it could consolidate them for me. And so I have these to look back on. And I started like calculating what I had 4 salespeople at the time before I fired them. We were doing like 120K a month, and we were on track to probably get to like 200 in the next 30 days or so, because our sales reps were starting to perform. They were starting to close 1 or 2 deals a day. Like, we're doing 12,000 cash, daily. So we were on the way to scaling to like $250,000 a month. And I started tracking, number one, what does my day look like on a daily basis if I do that? And number two, how much profit do I get out of all the daily input that I'm doing? And it ended up being around $80,000 a month in profit for a crap ton of work, right? And so I was then like, well, is there a more efficient way? If 80K a month is the goal in terms of profit, is there a more efficient way to get there, right? And so then I started mapping out what that could look like. And I was like, yeah, there's a much more efficient way to get there. It's to do 90K in revenue and have 80K be profit, and actually have a personal relationship with your clients in a very small team, so you don't have to spend all day managing that team, right? And so that was like kind of what it ended up being. Now, in terms of the cap, I'm going to put a cap in the next 12 months of 100 people total that I'll be working with in terms of clients, right? I will probably launch some sort of community thing separate from clients that I actually work with. Those won't be like clients though. It'll be some sort of like, low ticket community.
Yeah.
But right now, what I'm focused on building is a 100 person community of clients that I work with that pay month after month and stay because I love it. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm going to release a certain amount of spots over the next 12 months, once a month, for people to join. And I'm going to get it up to 100. I'm going to cap it 100 people for now. It could grow later, but for now it's going to be 100 people. And I want to know everybody. I want to know what everybody's doing. I want to have a personal relationship with them. And I want to serve my clients to the very highest level that I possibly can. And I want to get them amazing results. Now, obviously by doing that, I'm putting a cap on the amount of money that I'll make. But what that tracks out to is between $1 and $3 million a year in profit, right? And that's if I never do any of the low ticket stuff as well. And so, like, if I can provide amazing support to people, if I can build an amazing community where we host 4 events a year, people come hang out in person, it's just like an amazing community of people that I honestly love working with. and I can make $1 to $3 million a year in profit doing that, I'm going to do that all day long versus the business that does 10 million a year in top line revenue, 2 million a year in profit, but I hate my business and I have to work 20 hours a week just to maintain the team, right? So that's kind of what I decided to build. And even though I'm capped on my income technically, by capping my client base at 100 people, I will slowly over the next years increase the price to the point where, it's more expensive to be a part of it. We have a massive wait list. My goal is really just to build like a massive wait list of people that want to be in there so bad that like the 100 people I work with, they never want to leave because they know if they leave, they're never getting back in, right? And so that's kind of like my goals. I want to build a community of people that just love to be a part of it so much, they get so much value that they don't want to leave, if that makes sense. So.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like community is something that like you're really big on. Can you kind of like touch on that, like why community is so important to you?
Yeah, I think people initially pay for the result. Like they pay to learn how to make $20,000, $30,000 a month in their coaching business, $50,000 a month in their coaching business. They initially pay for the result and they stay for the community, right? So you're going to get them in the door by saying, hey, there's this big promise that you're going to get this result. And that's great. But then once they're in there, why would somebody stay continually once they get the result? Well, it's because of the community, right? And continuing to provide value to people. And for me, the things that I love most about my business are group calls where we have amazing human beings all in a group call providing value to each other, right? Like think about whenever you're going through, like if you're getting coached like on a sports team, right? Like if it was just if the coach worked with every single person one-on-one, like it wouldn't really make sense, right? We're all trying to get a championship together. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal. It's much better to have people around you rallying together to try and all get there at the same time, if that makes sense. So like what I love is like group calls with amazing human beings, all in the call together, all jamming, all providing value. I love our in-person events. We host 4 of them a year. I want to do more of them. I'm going to start adding in client dinners, more than that every single year. So like the in-person piece, I just absolutely love it. I get so much energy from it. I think it provides so much value to people. The community that we have online, like just the chat community on Slack that we host, the amount of communication that people like, there's so many messages being sent in there every single day, people posting wins, asking questions, getting answers. Like I just love the community aspect of it. I love the people, because any coaching business is just made up of people, right? Like I'm people, my team's people, and my clients are people, and we're all just people coming together, achieving a result together, right? Striving to be better humans together. And so I just love the community aspect of it. So.
Yeah, community is definitely important, and people for surely stay for the community. They're not staying because of the course or whatnot, and then they obviously.
It's like you can only keep dropping so many new course modules. Like you can't just like keep clients forever by just dropping a new module every day. You know what I mean? So.
For sure, especially if they're already getting the result too. So it's like, and then in the new kind of like the new funnel that you're doing, you're not running paid ads anymore. Kind of. What made you, I know there was like a popular hashtag, like hashtag spend more on ads. So it sounds like now it's like hashtag zero on ads.
That's a hashtag in our community is like anybody that starts making money with their coaching business, we always say like hashtag spend more money on ads if they want to grow their business. Because a lot of people are scared to spend money on ads. Now, I'm personally just doing a 60-day test to see if I can maintain and grow my coaching business without spending money on ads. So this is not like a thing that I'm doing long term, like a decision I made forever. I've just decided to test for 60 days if I can organically with YouTube grow to the point where I don't need to spend money on ads. By no means am I saying I'm never going to run ads again. In fact, even if it does work, I will still definitely run retargeting ads 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I'm just doing a kind of like tests also so I can tell my clients like how it went too. So
for sure, man. So we've talked about a lot about the success, the new stuff that you have going on, but some people who might not be at that same level, might be starting out, they need a little more practical advice. So you've stated definitely before that in your intro modules and stuff that you don't have business problems. You have personal problems bleeding into your business. Can you kind of explain that concept?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times I'll kind of tell a story. There was this point when I was working with a coach where I was at like $40,000 a month in my business, and I felt like I'd hit a ceiling where I was like, man, I really don't know how to like get past this point. And I was about to get on my coaching call with him, and I was about to ask a whole bunch of questions about tactics and strategies and like what's the new ad strategy or funnel to scale past this point, or like what hire do I need to make or whatever. And he gets in the call, and I tell him, hey dude, this is how I feel. I feel stuck, whatever. And he's like, dude, how's your relationship with Jesus right now? And I was like, yo, what? What do you mean? Like, you're my business coach. Like, let's not talk about Jesus. All right. And then he was like, and how's the rest of your life? Like, how are you doing? And I was like, dude, why are you asking me about this right now? And what I kind of learned from that experience was that like all the problems I had in my business, and this is especially true for an online coaching business, all the problems I had in my business were just personal problems reflected in my business, right? Let's say that you are not performing well on your sales calls, or your clients aren't staying past their initial commitment with you, or people are asking for refunds, whatever it might be. Now, especially in the coaching business, right? If people are coming to you, if your clients are coming to you saying, hey dude, like, I don't know if this is for me, can I leave the program, whatever it might be, it is 100% a reflection of who you are as a coach, not showing up at your full capacity, right? That's why it's especially true for coaching businesses, is because we, like, our personal lives are so intertwined with us as a coach, because we have to get on and coach people every day, right? And so if I'm not feeling good myself, if I'm not fulfilled, if I'm not feeling optimal, I'm not going to be able to get on and coach someone else to the best, ability that I can. And it's like same thing for sales calls. If you're like, man, why have my sales calls not performing? Why have my close rate go from 30% to 15%? It's like, it's probably not the fact that you like lost your skill and your script, because you can just read your script right here. And it probably has everything to do with like the energy you show up with on the sales call that the other person on the end of the screen can see and feel go into the call, right? And so if you're going through something personally in your own life, or if you don't personally feel fulfilled, if you don't feel like you have a purpose, if you don't feel like you're moving forward, if you're not growing, then that's definitely going to show up inside of your business, whether it's working with clients, taking sales calls, managing your team properly, right? And so I think everything, it doesn't have a direct correlation all the time. A lot of times it's literally just the energy you show up with. And if you probably know the times that you just felt amazing, right? Like you felt things were growing, you felt really good about it. And then there's also the times that that you've been like, man, I feel like I'm struggling right now. Like I'm on the struggle bus, this is tough. And then you try and like get on like Myles, for you for example, bro. Like if you're going through something really hard in your personal life, in your business, which is this podcast now, like it's probably gonna be hard for you to show up and like ask all the right questions, be there mentally. Right? Like if you, right before you go film a podcast, if you had a massive falling out with your parents or with your family or something, and then you have to go film a podcast right after, it's for sure going to affect how you show up on that podcast and your energy, right?
100%.
And so
100%.
That's like personal problems very clearly show up in our business. In fact, our businesses are just an outward reflection of who we are as human beings, right? We basically build on the outside how we feel and who we are on the inside. So that's like your business is basically just all of your personal inner feelings projected in an outward way. So.
And then shoot, man, you mind getting personal about some of the personal problems you faced, and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of personal problems that I've had, and I'm definitely not perfect now. Like we all still have problems and things that we face through and trials that we go through. And I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more in the future too. I'm hoping that the big ones are kind of, out of the way, at least the ones that are in my control. Obviously, there's like external circumstances that you can't always control, things that happen to you that maybe you can't, there was nothing you could have done. But when I was, about to get married, I'm starting this brand new coaching business. I just signed the mortgage in the house. I was going through an extremely rough time personally. Not only like trying to feel adequate enough to marry somebody, right? Trying to feel like I was good enough to marry Lila, who's like the most amazing human being on the planet Earth. And I was like a freaking loser at the time, at least in my mind. Trying to do that, and the financial stress and burden of like, I just signed a mortgage in this house. I have to finish the renovations on it. I have to fill it up with furniture. That's all going to cost money. And then also just like I just feel like all of my health was deteriorating. My mental health was deteriorating. My physical health, I wasn't working out because of that. My business, because I wasn't good personally, was starting to slow down. And so that's when I decided to make just a massive shift with everything. That's when I started the coaching business. That's when I had a whole bunch of hard conversations with a lot of people in my personal life that I felt like were long overdue. Right? I'm a big proponent of the idea that the life that you want is on the other side of a couple hard conversations, right? Like it's a couple hard conversations with your family, with your parents, with your spouse, with your friends, cutting people off. Like you're one hard conversation away, 2 or 3 hard conversations away from a life that you really want to live, and mental freedom, right? So anyways, I just felt like I was going through a lot personally at the time. And dude, it's not easy to show up in business for sure when you're going through all that stuff. So, or show up to the gym or really do anything. And so it could be hard to get out of a downward spiral, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of hard conversations. So.
Yeah, for sure. I had definitely, honestly, I went through a couple of hard conversations right before I started the podcast. And I'm really glad that I did, because it allowed me to really like take a step back and do that reevaluation that I was kind of telling you about earlier. That's like when I did the reflection, and then I was like, you know what, I want to do this podcast. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that if I never did that, then I'd probably still just be on the hamster wheel, just trying to just keep going, but with blinders on, without. So yeah, I think taking that time apart and making sure that you clean up all those personal problems is definitely something that people need to do. And it's often overlooked because it's probably one of the hardest things that you have to do as a business owner.
Oh, for sure, dude. And some of the things in my head, I was like, I'm just never going to do that, right? Like I was actually at a place where I was like, I'm never going to have that conversation. I'm never going to talk to that person. I'm never going to admit to this thing, right? I was at a place where like, that was kind of like my thoughts personally. I was like in my head, I was fully decided I was never doing those things. And so it was really hard for me to like finally get to a point where I was able to, at least open up my mind a little bit to the possibility that it could happen. And then I went to church one day, and the sermon wasn't even really had anything to do with this stuff. I just remember sitting there like crying in my seat at church and thinking like, I just like felt God telling me, you need to go talk to all these people and you need to go do this thing. And I was like, dude, God, trust me. You don't want me to do that. I'm not going to do that. But he was like, nope, you're going to do it. So I bought a flight that night, went and had like a whole bunch of different hard conversations with people that I needed to have, and took.
Oh, wow. You did in person?
Yeah, I went in person. Like I feel like it needed to be done in person. So I just went and had all these hard conversations, just got them all done. And it was like, dude, it was legit the hardest, like one of the hardest things I ever had to do. So.
Oh, shit. Well, on the other side of that wall was all the business success that you've been having. So glad that you did that.
100%. Where I'm glad I did it too. Yeah. And now hard conversations are a little bit easier to have too. Like once you have the first few, now you can get good at. Like it's a skill you can have, right? Hard conversations are a skill that you can learn too. So now I feel like
exactly.
I'm, able to have more hard conversations. So.
Yeah, it 100% is. And I was honestly terrible about having hard conversations too, to the point where especially now that I'm getting into podcasting, I realize I'm like, okay, I need to like be better at my communication. So I read this book. I think it's called How to Have Crucial Conversations, and it really just gives you a framework, environment, mentality, how to go into crucial conversations. And I remember reading the book thinking like, some of these things, sound very elementary. But then I had to really stop and think, like, if this was so obvious to do, they wouldn't have wrote a book about it, and people wouldn't be reading it, and it wouldn't have all these great reviews. So having hard conversations is definitely something like an acquired skill that a lot of people, struggle to have.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
And then, so in your video, How to Become a 1% Man, you said that you need to be rich in health, wealth, relationships, and those are infinite games. What are you doing in your life to make sure that you stay on top of those 3 categories?
Yeah, that's an old video. It's a good find.
Yes, sir.
Health, wealth, relationships, family, all that stuff. I mean, I'm not perfect in any of those realms, nor will it ever be. But like I said in the video, they are infinite games, right? Like they are games that you will play forever. Your health is not a game that you can hire anybody else to play for you. Neither is your relationships. Your business, you kind of can, but you still have to be in a spot personally, mentally, where you can be fit to run it. So, I mean, my kind of philosophy is like, and this is literally just recently where I've shifted it to like, I want to start living for a living, right? Like I want to start becoming the person that I want to become, not only in business, but in my relationships, in my health, and I think those are all like lifelong journeys, and you have to learn to love the journey, because there's no destination you'll arrive to in any of those 3 areas where you'll finally be like, it's good enough, right? Like there's no destination in business to where you're like, this is just perfect. There's nothing else I need to do. There's no destination in your health where you can just be done and finished. There's no destination in your relationships where you just can let them go and say I finally arrived and I can take my foot off the gas now. And so they're all games that are infinite, and they're all games that you have to learn to love to play, not to learn to love the scoreboard or the destination. So in terms of like what I do, bro, I mean, I could go through my fitness routine, but I wouldn't say that'd be the most valuable thing I could provide to the audience. I can go through a little bit of like what I do though, or like what I try to do. I've been sick the last week though, so I haven't, my routine hasn't been consistent. But typically what I like to do, bro, is I recently I probably work 3 to 4 hours a week. I coach. Probably maybe 1 to 2 hours a day I'm writing. I spend a lot of my time writing because I have to write content, I have to write emails, I have to write course modules, I have to write a lot of stuff. And so I spend a lot of my time just writing, like 1 or 2 hours a day. And the rest of the time I can kind of spend dreaming, thinking, walking, and thinking about what I like, large picture stuff, so I can write better, right? So that's kind of like my business. Like that's pretty much all I do in my business are those things. And then obviously filming videos and stuff like that. But that's pretty much what I do in my business, and that's it. That's really all I do. In terms of like health, like I love playing basketball, bro. Like I love a good pickup game. Like all of our collective events include at least one night where we go to a gym and we hoop. So like I love playing basketball. Brother. What was that?
I said, hell yeah, brother. Who's your favorite team?
Dude, I was born in Dallas, so I can rightfully say that I'm a Mavericks fan, and they happen to be up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. So,
yes, sir.
Go Mavs. But yes, I mean, I just like to do things that I love to do. I don't really necessarily enjoy lifting weights as much. I like more athletic based training, so I do that a few times a week. But there's also a lot of stuff that I just want to try. Like I've taken a couple boxing lessons, and I want to do more of those. I love playing music. Sure. I love playing the piano. I love singing. I love spending time with my wife. We went on a date last night. So I spend a lot of time with my wife and my family. And so that's kind of, I feel like I just do like what I want to do,
For sure, man. So coming to the end of the interview, I got one last question. Maybe not one last question, but a couple more questions. Let me see. I mean, You're in the SMMA space, and I'm sure that, you know, some of your audience who are either starting an agency or, you know, scaling their agency are going to be watching this. So like, what is one advice that you would give to them in terms of scaling and hitting their, you know, revenue/profit goal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're just starting out in online business, that the agency business model is probably the best business model to learn skills and get paid to learn them. You know, learning how to do sales, do marketing, not only for yourself, but also for other people, and get paid to do it is a great way to learn skills and get paid while you learn them. I don't think it's like, at least the typical boutique agency model, I don't think it's going to be, you know, the model that people run for the rest of their life. So I don't think you should approach it as like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I think you should approach it as, I want to learn a lot and I want to get it between $30,000 and $100,000 a month. So I can have all these skills, and then I can kind of do whatever I want. I can, you know, choose who I want to work with. I can choose the team I want to work with. I can learn how to build a team, or I can pivot to coaching or consulting or whatever. So I think that's kind of the optimal place to run an agency at, is like 30 to 100K a month. And I think beyond that, it does take quite a bit of skill. I know people, a lot of people that run agencies much larger than that, but I think it takes a lot more. Like you're running a real business at that point versus more like a boutique freelance agency, right? Which I think is what most people think of when they think about marketing agency, is like this digital nomad thing where I can move to Bali. It makes me 20 grand a month in profit, and I can kind of live where I want and do all this stuff. Like that's what most people think of when they think about an agency. They don't think about like, you know, 5 hours a day of like just managing and building a team, right? That's like a $300,000 a month agency, $400,000 a month. So I think for most people that want to do that, I think it's a great model to pursue. It's probably the best business model to start, hands down, better than anything else I've ever seen. The only thing that worked for me. And really what it is like, learn one skill, just whether you research it on YouTube for 1 million hours, buy a course on it, learn one skill, and then start doing things and doing activities to get people interested in paying you a monthly fee for that skill so you can provide it to them. That's basically it. Now there's obviously like a lot of specific tactics you can go into, right? Like, well, how do you learn that skill? Well, do a lot of research on YouTube, buy a bunch of courses, and then start doing it for somebody for free. And then eventually, once you do it for free, or even do it in a job where like you literally are a W-2 employee, like I was, like you do the skill for a company, you get them an actual result, then start doing it for a whole bunch of people. And when you start doing it for a whole bunch of people, if you're getting referrals, you know you're doing something right. If you're not getting referrals, you probably aren't doing it right. And so I think that you can honestly, if you do a really good job, grow just off referrals and not have to worry about client acquisition all the time. But I do think that having a consistent client acquisition system is important, but so is like building a really good team for your agency. In terms of client acquisition, I mean, it's like you could either do cold outbound, you could do paid ads inbound, or you could do organic inbound. That's really the three things that you're looking at. And so you pick one of those three things. If you have time, do outbound. If you have money, do paid inbound. And if you have skills on how to grow on social media, do organic. That's really like, choose one of those three and just learn it. And they all work. You just got to pick one and pursue it. And so that's what I would do. That's how you really start an agency. Like I have 100% confidence that if I wanted to start a marketing agency today, like right now I made the decision to do it, in the next 2 weeks, I would have 5 paying clients and be back at $10,000 a month. Like it's that simple. As long as you learn, that's what an agency does for you. Is an agency taught me the skills so that I now can go do that whenever I want, right? Because I have those skills now. So.
For sure. Appreciate the insight, man. And Grayson, has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for hopping on the Beyond Ordinary podcast. And hopefully you inspired some agency owners out there to, you know, kick it into high gear. Can you explain to the people where they can find you at?
Yeah, bro. Just hope maybe it's in the show notes, but at Grayson Loupas on Instagram or YouTube, both of those places, best place to find me. So.
For sure, yeah. I'll definitely put those in the notes in the description. Also put up on the screen for for everybody. But yeah, Beyond Ordinary podcast. Hope we inspired you guys to be great. Till the next time. Peace.